Okay, welcome everyone. Amazing. Fantastic. Everyone's joining in. I love it. Those of you all joining in, you can have your video on if possible. We love being able to see everyone as well. You will see that you are muted, but video on is amazing. Look, if you're eating lunch or something, that's totally fine as well. All good too, but lovely to see everyone's faces. Amazing. Hi everyone. Great. Hey, just as
Hello.
we gather, it's so good. It's so good to see everyone. As we gather, we'd love everyone to share in the chat where you are, right? Where you are in the world and what you do creatively. Right? Just pop that in the chat just as we gather. Where are you in the world and what do you do creatively? What about to you, Joanna?
I am in Los Angeles, California.
Amazing. And I definitely knew that, but now everyone here does as well. I love that. I'm actually in Richmond, Virginia at the moment. Been here for a few months. It's been a great spot. Often that surprises people because they're like, that accent is definitely not from Virginia, Logan. Those of you that don't know me, I'm from New Zealand, but I do spend most of my time in the US, which is good. So we're a US business. A lot of people we work with are in the US and Canada. Amazing. All right, so pop in the chat if you've just joined us. Where are you in the world and what do you do creatively? Just pop that in the chat and we'll see where people are at. We tend to honestly have people joining webinars like this from all over, a lot of people in the US and Canada as well. But yeah, pop in the chat where you are in the world and what you do creatively. Amazing. Cool. We've got more people joining in. I love it. Nice. Okay. All right. So we're going to get underway. So, Joanna, I'm going to hand over to you first and we'll get some introductions and then we're going to dive into our training for today.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Joanna Muñoz. I go by Wink and Wonder on Instagram. I have a BFA in graphic design, and I was a designer and art director for over a decade. And in 2013, I taught myself calligraphy and hand lettering. And around the same time, Instagram was blowing up. So I started sharing my work online. And then people started asking me if they can pay me for artwork. So I said yes. And that started my freelance career. It was a happy accident. And then in 2018, I wrote a book and people saw that I wrote a book. So in 2019, I started teaching and decided to make the jump to freelance at the end of 2019, which was perfect timing. So since then, I've worked with clients like Nickelodeon, Michael Kors, Disney, Target. If you go to Target, two of my gift cards are in Target, and Pottery Barn, among other clients. And then after COVID, I realized I was fully responsible for my own career. I didn't have a full-time job anymore. So at the end of 2022, I decided to start working with Logan. I had joined a webinar just like this one. My friend Jess Miller was with Logan at the time. And I filled out the survey, which Logan will touch on later on in the conversation. I filled it out and it had me thinking about my business. And I realized I'm really creative. I'm good at what I do. I think people should know that, but I don't know how to run a business. I didn't at the time. And that's why I really valued working with Logan. He helped me understand what I was missing in terms of the business side of things. And, I'll let him introduce himself, but Logan has worked with creatives in North America and Europe and really helps them understand the business side and kind of make that jump. I had already made the jump into full-time freelance, but he helps other creatives who are kind of at the big beginning stages of their freelance career um, build confidence in themselves and their business and make that jump. And since working with him, I was hitting maybe four-figure income months. And then after working with him, I started hitting five-figure income months. So I'm really grateful for the time I've spent with him. And then I'll let him introduce himself.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Joanna. Lovely to be here. I think we've done a couple of webinars like this together as well now.
Mhm.
So really excited to do something else together. And we've got a fun topic for today. So those of you that don't know me, yes, as I mentioned earlier, I'm originally from New Zealand, but now based in the US. I do travel quite a bit as well. Look, my background is that I had my own creative business for 11 years, was in the live event space. During that time, I then got very involved in education. So a lot of sort of part-time teaching contracts with universities, teaching right up to master's level as well. It was all basically next to running my own creative business. And basically what happened was over time that evolved. I started working with people one-on-one. I started creating programs, and then eventually went full-time to helping visual creatives to grow their business. So the people that we work with these days are primarily based in the US and Canada. We find people do sort of break into different groups, as Joanna mentioned, in terms of who we work with. So yeah, group one are kind of like, hey, early stage, they're, maybe they've got a day job and they're doing a little bit of creative stuff on the side, but they really want to turn it into a proper income and ideally leave that job. Kind of group one. Group two are kind of, yeah, in a way, more like Joanna, like doing it. You are running your business full time effectively, but actually wanted to get more sustainably, increase the revenue, and actually get more balance in the business as well, working through the business side, the mindset side, all of those good things. And of course, we do work with people occasionally who have been in business for a very long time as well, sometimes even 10 or 20 years too. That just kind of gives everyone the ideas of who we work with. In terms of the types of creatives, the primary people we work with are very much visual creatives. So that tends to mean illustrators, graphic designers, muralists, also occasionally photographers and videographers as well. It's really people who are in the visual creative space, which is just an amazing group of people to work with. I absolutely love it as well. So look, today, what we're going to be doing, one of the things we're going to be doing is a giveaway of 3 freebie coaching calls with myself, and also a bunch with Paul. Paul's on the call here today as well. Paul Corgan from my team. He is the creative business consultant on our team. And basically what we're going to do is give away 3 calls with me to 3 different people. These are free calls, and then a whole bunch more with Paul as well. We're going to fit a whole bunch of calls on both of our calendars as well. Look, that's something that we would love everyone who's here either live or watching to fill that in. I'm going to pop in there. There's a link. That form there you fill in. We'll just be choosing people from that, right? So it is a short survey. It's a survey that Joanna mentioned as well. And basically it's a form to really help you dig into where you're at with your business. And also we'll then select people from that to actually get on some free calls as well. So honestly, it's just a great free resource. Everyone learns something about themselves when they fill it in, just like Joanna did. And then also we'll be choosing a bunch of people to get on some freebie coaching calls as well. So definitely check that out. I've shared the link in the chat. We'll also make sure we share it in the email afterwards. As well, if you're watching the recording or didn't get that live. Awesome. So that's a bit of a download about me. Now, in terms of what we're going to be covering today, we have an awesome topic because it's the holidays coming up. Right now, obviously, different parts of the world, different places do have slightly different holidays. So, of course, yes, here in the US, we've got Thanksgiving coming up. I know in Canada, they've already had Thanksgiving, but also we've got Christmas that many people celebrate as well. So it's kind of a bit of a strange time of year, I often think, because lots is happening, right? We've got these big holidays coming up, a lot of celebrations, a lot of time with family. The seasons are changing, right? I'm here in Richmond, Virginia, and all the leaves are really changing color. It's getting cooler everywhere, right? And in some places that's really good, in some places that's not good. It's like, it's getting too cold. So, it's always a bit different. But, that there is obviously something that we're very aware of, is that those temperatures are changing, moods are changing, there's family commitments, and also we're coming towards the end of 2024, which is kind of scary to say. Right? It's like, wow, it's late October right now, and we're going to be heading into 2025. Crazy to say that. So it is also a time of reflection and a time for the year coming to an end and thinking about the future. So Joanna and I thought, actually, let's do something around the holiday season and helping people to be successful in the holidays, but also finishing well and looking ahead to the future for 2025 to really prepare things. So as I said, it's an interesting time, for better or worse, to be honest, right? So some people find this time of year is amazing on lots of levels, personally and professionally. Family, business can really boom. For other people, it's the opposite. Some people really struggle this time of year. Some people feel very overwhelmed. There can be a lot of commitments. There can be a lot happening, right? There's a lot of things happening with family. And some people, their business has a slower time in this period of the year, right? So everyone is different in that, and it's good to really recognize these things. The first thing we're going to talk about is what we call having a healthy mindset. Having a very, very healthy mindset at this time of year. So we're going to run through some things on that, and Joanna's going to share some thoughts around the different things I'm going to be running through on the training as well. The first thing is just recognizing this time of year can feel pretty overwhelming for people, right? The holidays, the sales, family things happening. As I said, the weather's cooling down in lots of places. It can just feel like a lot, right? It can feel pretty overwhelming. We do see that often. People do feel a bit overwhelmed. And remember, this is just not about you only as the business owner. Yes, that's part of it, but it's also for the people that you're serving, your clients, your customers, right? They may be also feeling these things as well. So it's really important to be aware of this. Number one, absolutely. As I said, some people, this is a great time of year, others, it's less great. What we need to also recognize either way is that there's still plenty of opportunities for everyone in the coming months, right? That even if your business tends to be a bit slower at this time of year or your industry is a bit slower, it doesn't mean that there's not opportunities. Right, this is really, really important to understand is that we're going to talk, about this idea of abundance mindset, and abundance mindset says there's always going to be opportunities. However, if you say to yourself, there's no opportunities this time of year, there's nothing happening, well, you're probably not going to be putting yourself out there. You're not going to be contacting potential clients. You're not going to be getting engaged. You're not going to be focused on Instagram, right? Because you're going to be like, what's the point? And of course, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Nothing's going to happen because you're not putting yourself out there. So this is really, really important to be aware of. There is lots of opportunities in these coming months as well. But we need to be very aware of the mindset that can really affect those actual outcomes. A big one that we talk about this time of year, it's so important to celebrate the good things happening in your life. Celebrate the wins, celebrate the positive things. And I'm talking both personally and professionally as well. Right? This is really important because that will cultivate more of that positive, abundant mindset. That will cultivate those really good things happening moving forward. So just being very, very aware that actually we need to make sure that this time of year, keeping really positive is going to be a focus, but we need to celebrate the wins, celebrate the good things. Right? This is something that we even do on our trainings within our programs is get people celebrating wins, even small wins, give you a boost, make you feel really good, right? Because there can always be negative stuff to focus on at any time of year. But sometimes this time of year, when we feel a bit overwhelmed and there's a lot happening, it's easy to focus on like, but it's getting really cold, or I'm feeling very overwhelmed because family want me to drive across the country to see them, right? Whatever's going on, we also need to make sure we're celebrating that positive stuff. Something that we do talk about is this idea of what we call scarcity mindset. So those of you that know about abundance and scarcity mindset, abundance is like there is opportunities for everyone. Scarcity basically says there's not. Everyone's fighting over scraps on the table, right? And we can use this analogy in business and say, hey, abundance mindset says there's lots of opportunities there for everyone. Yes, you've just got to be out there embracing them, letting people know that you exist, keeping engaged as well. But if you embrace scarcity mindset, it says there's not. We've all got to fight over it. There's competition. There's not enough for everyone, right? And the thing is that whatever you believe, often it's a thing that comes true. Like I said, self-fulfilling prophecies are very, very true here as well. So it's something to be very, very aware of this time of year. We need to be aware of those mindsets and the mindsets that can come up as well. Joanna, would love to hear some of your thoughts around this, particularly for this time of year as well.
Oh, I love positivity and focusing on good things. So, one of the things I do on my own is I keep like a celebration journal, and I write down anything and everything. And I can have the worst day, and if the best thing of my day is like my cats came over and gave me snuggles, like that's a win. So I try to do it every day because I'm focusing on the good things and therefore calling more good things into my life. Because I've found that in business, especially when good things happen, you feel like that's what's supposed to happen. So you forget to celebrate it. And then when bad things happen, those things aren't necessarily supposed to happen. So you dwell on those things. And even if I've sent out 3 outreach emails or a client got back to me, I write everything down so I can rewire my brain and keep myself in that positive state that's like open to opportunities, and keeping myself just kind of open to the possibilities out there instead of just harping on the things that aren't working right. And then abundance versus scarcity, I very much believe in that. I think people forget. So I come from the agency side where I know that agencies have money to burn. At the end of the year, they need to blow through their budget so that next year they get the same budget back. So there are a lot of jobs that come through the holidays, whether it's through Black Friday and people are promoting products, or shops that want to promote presents that people can buy for their friends and their family, and they need an artist to create those products for them. The holidays are a really great time for artists to reach out to these companies and say, I'm an artist, you have products, how can we work together to boost your sales, whether it's through social media or through product creation or affiliate marketing. There are so many different ways that we can find work during the holiday season. And a lot of those ways aren't the normal, like commission-based ways that we're taught, especially in this like time and this age of social media. There are a bunch of different ways to work with clients that you might not be really aware of. And as long as you stay open, those projects and those opportunities can come through. You just have to have that abundance mindset and that positive thinking.
I love it. It's so powerful. And like, we I think a lot about how much we're all affected by the world that we live in, right? The news that we read, the social media we all consume. We've got to be really aware that particularly when it comes to news cycles, there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of negativity coming in. So we've got to be very aware that it's very easy for our thought patterns to fall into these negative states. But actually, as Joanna said, it's so important to embrace the positive things that are happening. Because we can always find bad stuff happening in our world, in our lives, like negative things, annoying things, frustrating people. We can always find that, right? It doesn't take long to find that. But what we've got to do is we've got to make sure we're really looking for the good stuff as well. Because we're really negatively affected by the bad stuff. And actually, that often has a bigger impact. If we compare one negative piece of news and one positive piece of news, the negative is going to win out all the time in terms of our own mindset. So we actually need to have lots of positive things to focus on. And we need to do things like Joanna mentioned around having actually a book that you can fill things in, celebrate wins, a brag book, right? There's lots of different ways that you can do that. So I love that. And as Joanna said, there's lots of opportunities, right? And this is what we're really getting at here as well, is that in this time of year, there's so many opportunities to actually grow. And some of you need to get a bit creative and do things a little bit differently as well. We're going to talk about shiny object syndrome next, right? Ooh, shiny object syndrome. Who gets that? Raise your hand if you're like, hey, yep, that's me, right? Absolutely. So, it's something that, we really see that people all get affected by this idea of something exciting. And it could be like an opportunity in your business. It could be like a new product or service offering that you could do. It could be something, a new trend at this time of year that you could jump on board for. Right. And you can. It's a place of innovation. It's a place of opportunity in your business. It's to do new things, experiment, try new things. But we've got to be very aware. Is it also a distraction away from our core business? Right. And that may be okay. And we may be aware of that. But most people don't notice it. They're like, oh, I'm off doing this thing here. And then the core stuff that they do, the thing that brings them consistent revenue, can actually really slow down. So I just want everyone here to be very, very aware of that. There's a lot of seasonal hype. There's a lot of things that you can get on the bandwagon for, right? A lot of things around trends that can come at this time of year. Look, we're all up for you jumping on board for those trends and following the different hype, of course, but you've got to be aware, is it negatively impacting the other pieces of what you do as well, right? What is the impact of that? And we see this where people, hey, have a really strong business, they're doing something here, going really well, and then they get really distracted because there's something really exciting, or everyone is doing this thing, particularly in the holidays. And they get distracted and they jump on over there, and that part of the business just stops. Right. So I want you to be very, very aware of that as well. Some things may seem like a good idea to focus on. Great. Do they reflect your overall goals that you've set yourself? Do they reflect the overall plan you've set for the whole year for the business as well? And something, that we're often saying to be very, very careful about is this balance of higher price versus lower price offerings, product, services. Right? Some of you might have heard me speak about this before, but we do really see that often growth in a business tends to come from things that you're charging over $300 for. Right? You can definitely do things that are under $300, right? They might be products, different services that are these lower ticket items. However, you've got to be aware you've got to sell so many of them to actually make the business work. Right, so we tend to see that, yes, it could be part of the business, but the core focus should always be on things that you're going to be charging much higher than $300. $300 minimum, right? We're talking about a minimum. This time of year, there's definitely opportunities on both sides. There's opportunities under $300. There's opportunities over that. I just want you to be very, very aware that for everything that's under 300, it turns into a numbers game. It tends to be more competitive as well. And sometimes those things do tend to fall into that more shiny object area where it seems really exciting, but the payoff can be a little bit harder as well. So, these are all good things for you to be aware of. Obviously, we love people jumping on board with trends and different opportunities, but we just need to be aware, how do those things meet those goals? How do they match the goals that you have as well? Joanna, we'd love to hear some of your thoughts around the kind of the shiny object syndrome that we all experience.
Yeah, it makes me laugh because when we worked together, I fell into that trap all the time. I'd say, "Well, what is this person doing? And what is that person doing?" And you would always bring me back and go, "What are you focused on and what do you need to do? Stop worrying about other people." And it really, really helped me focus on the fact that my business is my business and it's run a different way than other people. And even though I may or may not at the time have seen other people become successful, I was also successful and I wasn't giving myself credit in terms of doing it my way. I just thought that that person had success and they did it that way, so I should do it that way. And I was getting really bogged down in it and swirling. And so it was really helpful to stay focused on the items that we had listed out in the coaching program for myself and staying focused on that. I did want to mention, I've been reading and listening to the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits, and he mentioned something, motion versus action. I'm really good at motion. I'm really good at like finding something and doing research and collecting all the things and feeling like I've spent the last couple of days being productive and realizing I haven't taken action on, like Logan said, the things that are actually propelling and moving my business forward. So after reading that book and really absorbing that, that really hit home in terms of, okay, I have all this like giant list of things to do or things I want to look into, but what is really going to help my business? And so reframing things that way and focusing on the things that'll move the needle forward faster and further has been really, really helpful because guys, I get distracted like nobody's business. I'm like that dog on Up that's like squirrel, and then I just run off and start chasing something else, and then have to take a moment and refocus. So yeah, shiny object syndrome, real thing.
It's a real thing, and I think it's really common with creative people, right? Like I think this is what comes up for very creative people is like it's actually a positive thing to notice opportunities and get excited about a lot of different ideas and combine these different ideas from what you see. We've just got to also be aware that there can be negatives to it as well, as Joanna mentioned. That you can get very distracted, and you find I was playing towards these goals here, but now I'm doing this thing here that doesn't match. So the next thing we're going to talk about is really around reviewing and setting goals, right? And this is really to understand that, look, it's getting towards late October right now, right? 2025 is not that far away. It's only like 2 months away from Christmas, right? It's really, really soon in a way. So it's a good time of year to actually start thinking ahead to what do you actually want in 2025? What are the goals that you have? But we need to actually first reflect on this year, right? This is really, really important. Having future dreams and goals is really important, but also we need to make sure that we're really reflecting on what happened this year. What went well? What didn't go well? Right? What were the goals that you had that you achieved? What were the goals that you had that you just didn't get to? What were the ones that you're like, I got totally distracted and forgot about that one? Yeah. Right. So using this time of year, and I'm really talking about the next 2 months to actually reflect on this year, 2024, and to plan ahead for 2025. Something that I do that works really, really well for me is that I actually try and set aside usually 2 to 3 days at the end of the year. I call it my Logan retreat, right? And I use that time to reflect on the year first. And I literally go through it month by month. And I'm talking both personally and professionally, right? For my business as well as what's happening in my life personally. What went well, what didn't go so well, what would I like to do differently? Because I can then use that to help guide what do I want next? What do I want in my next year to be? It could be draft goals. They don't need to be like fixed, this is the plan, but it's usually draft goals that I'll then have another look at, usually in late January, right? So I really go, okay, let's just check, okay, are these things all making sense so far? And then I can really firm them up as well. Something that I want everyone to be very, very aware of is what we call recency bias. Recency bias is basically whatever's happened recently, we're going to feel like that's been our whole year, right? So this time of year, as I mentioned, people can feel sometimes a bit overwhelmed. Sometimes the business can go really well or not go really well in these months ahead. What can then happen is you're like, oh, October, terrible month, absolute disaster. The whole year was a disaster. That's what it's going to feel like. Now, if you're in the middle of a bad month, October, or you're the end of a bad month, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. Everything's a mess. This whole business is a disaster. I've had such a terrible year. Recency bias. What's happened recently really feels like it's happened for a long time. It works the opposite, right? You have an amazing October. You're like, everything is amazing in this business. I don't need to do anything differently. It's great, right? And you may be like, well, no, maybe that was a really good month, but actually you need to have more sustainability across the year in the business, right? So these are things that I want you to be very aware of, especially when it comes to that goal review, that goal setting process as well. And that's partly why I actually like to use this time of year to reflect on the year, but also I like to use January as a chance to have another look and go, are they actually the goals, or was I affected by a bunch of recency bias during the holiday season? Right. So these are good things to think about. Reviewing and setting goals is absolutely important. It's something that is so crucial because it's really about guiding the direction. We can all change goals, absolutely. You're going to pivot, your direction's going to change a bit during the year, but we need to have a direction to really start with at first. Joanna, would love to hear your thoughts around goals and things as well.
Even though I worked at a company, it was a small company, I worked at a company for over a decade. The only goal I had when I had a full-time job was I want to make X amount of dollars by this year. And so when I switched to full-time freelance, this is like slightly embarrassing to say, I had no idea how to set goals and track my finances and project my income. I mean, I understood it, but like I just didn't do it. So when I joined Logan's program and there are, modules on like tracking your business and reflecting on your revenue, I was like, oh, how have I survived this long without actually doing any of these things? And so, when we worked together, we would have the goals for the week and then the overarching goals for, the length that we were working together. And I've really carried that on since the program with Logan ended. I'm still baffled how I was able to support myself all those years without actually having goals I want to hit. Like my goals at the time were I want to work with Target, but I didn't have the like steps broken out in terms of like achieving that goal. It was just like, hey, universe, I would like to work with Target. And that did end up working, but just not, it probably could have worked faster and in a more efficient way had I taken my goals, broken them down, reviewed what worked for me in the previous year, and seen where all of my income is coming from. Like these last 2 years are the first time I've actually broken down where my income is coming from. I just at the end of the year magically looked at my income for the year, but didn't track what was working and what wasn't until I started working with Logan, which still wild to me that I did not do that for all those years. But it's so helpful to see where you can cut things and where you can keep focusing to grow your efforts and bring more income in and achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Love it. It's so, so good. And, I think this is something I think about a lot is like there's two parts to a creative business. There's the creative part and there's the business part. Most people here, you're really amazingly good at what you do creatively, but often what we see is it's the business stuff that gets in the way. Things like goal setting, yes, marketing, the sales side there. And it's not always obvious, as Joanna mentioned as well. It's like, hey, you could be running your business, you're just not clear that there's a gap in those things there, or they're not obvious things to do because you haven't done them before. And you're not necessarily excited about them either because you're very good at and very focused on more of the creative side as well. And I mean, that's literally why we do the work we do, is because we help visual creatives with the business stuff, which is really, really an important piece of it, as we know. What I'd love everyone to do is to share their Instagram in the chat. Jonah and I would love to connect with you. Celeste from my team will also share in the chat our Flame Entrepreneur Instagram. We'd love to get connected with you all as well. Just pop your URL in. So actually go to a website and drop the URL, just like Celeste from my team has. Follow both myself and Joanna there. We'd love to get connected. But everyone here live, just pop your Instagram link in the chat, just like we've done there. Like literally open up a browser, grab the URL and pop it in the chat. And then we're going to get everyone connected here, because part of building a business is also this community side as well, and actually getting you connected with other people, like people here on this as well. So amazing people are firing them into the chat. I love that. And then you can just go through and click and make sure you're following everyone as well. I love it. Okay, let's talk a bit about marketing. So look, obviously this time of year, as we mentioned, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of opportunities as well. that can also sometimes feel a bit overwhelming. So therefore, there's a few things we're going to mention around marketing that you can really focus on. The first thing is it's good to plan ahead and have a strategy for this time of year, right? If you want to do something around Christmas or around Thanksgiving, if you want to be promoting something, you want to be putting up specific content, it's going to be too late to even plan it the week of, let alone the day of, right? You're going to be busy, you're going to have commitments, maybe some of you are going to be traveling, you're going to be focused on time with family, right? So you really need to plan ahead. We see this happening with some people who go like, oh, I really wanted to do something this year at Christmas, but then Christmas arrived and I was going to do it that day or the week before, but everything was busy, a bit of a crazy time of year. So planning ahead is going to be very, very important if you do want to have some specific marketing, but even in general, right? If you're taking any time off in the coming months, you're probably going to want to plan ahead so that you can still have some things happening on the marketing side. For example, posting on Instagram, right? So we need to just be very, very aware that planning ahead and being very strategic is going to be really, really important. The other thing that you can do is actually leverage these holiday specific things, right? This is a great time of year to get involved in different challenges. There's lots of great challenges people run at this time of year around Christmas, around the holidays, around Halloween coming up as well, right? There's lots of different things that you can do to really get specific around different themes. The other thing, and Joanna did mention this before earlier, is personalized outreach is going to really work well at this time of year. What's happening? It's going to start pretty soon. I mean, it really starts basically straight after Halloween. We're all going to start getting a lot more messages. And a lot of it is sales. A lot of it is generic messaging. We're going to see it on our social media. We're going to see it on different websites and see it in our inbox. Personalized messaging is the thing that's going to be breaking through that noise, right? So you actually personally reaching out to ideal clients or building those partnerships using their name, customized messaging, not something just generic, you're going to actually get a much better return rate than just something generic that you blast out to everyone. So obviously it's not always possible, right? If you're selling a lot of things or you have a big audience, you're probably not going to sit there and message 2,000 people individually. However, the more you can do that personalized outreach, it's going to really help you to break through that noise, particularly when people just have a lot coming in as well, right? And it also shows you're a human, you care, right? You are someone that really wants to help them, wants to work with them, wants to create for them. So this is something we need to be very, very aware of at this time of year. People are getting scammed. Also good for you to just think about timing, right? Timing of different things. If you are planning on launching something or having some sort of sale or running even like a webinar like we do, right? You need to be very aware of these times of years. Like don't run a webinar right in the middle of Thanksgiving, right? Or if you do, you've got to be very aware that you're going to be competing with a lot of other messaging. Right. So part of it is just really understanding that awareness and planning around these different things. You may want to be a part of those different sales and things happening, but you need to also be aware you're going to be competing too. So we'd love to hear your thoughts, Joanna, just around some of the kind of the tips for marketing, things at this time of year that we mentioned here too.
Yeah, I love doing the holiday challenges. Right now, it's the end of October, but there's the scary and sweet challenge that our friends run on Instagram. There's going to be another one in December. Those are great ways to not only build your portfolio, but create, let's say, patterns during those challenges, and then use those patterns and pitch them to companies for the next year. So when you participate in these opportunities, think about how you can use it in your business, not just to create artwork for Instagram, but how that piece of artwork can work tenfold for you. And in terms of, doing personalized outreach, now is the time to reach out to companies before the Black Friday sales and the holiday sales and say, hey, my audience would really love to hear more about this product. Would you be interested in doing a collaboration for Black Friday? Or something like that, so that they know, one, who you are, and two, that you're forward thinking and thinking about their company or their product before the holiday season comes around. And as Logan said, everyone gets bombarded during that time. So think about the things that'll like make life enjoyable for you during the holiday season. If you really love drawing, draw as much as you can, but then how can you use those drawings to help your business? If you really enjoy doing client work, how can you reach out to clients right now and pitch yourself in a way that would be beneficial to both you and the client during the holidays. So yeah, using this time wisely for sure.
I love it. So, so good. We are going to be jumping into some question time soon as well, everyone. So if you have a question that you'd like to pop in the chat to ask us, it could be related to what we've covered in the webinar, it could be something else related, just pop it in the chat, pop the question in the chat, and we'll answer them when we can. We'll get through some. We did have through some sent in advance as well. Look, the next key thing we're going to talk about is basically around what should you focus on around your marketing, right? So it's going, hey, like, yeah, there's a lot of different things to keep in mind this time of year. There's a lot of messaging out there. So we're going to mention a few extra things around this. And one of the things that I want you to be very aware of, and this is marketing this time of year, it's also marketing any time of year, is that you need to make sure that you have really good social proof. Right, social proof in your marketing on your website. Now, what is social proof? Social proof is testimonials, right? Basically, people that you've worked with that gives credibility, right? And it doesn't always need to be people you've worked with. It could be people you've partnered with, or organizations that you've done some work for. It could even be leveraging things like your background, your degree, if you have one, right? Like it's really using social proof is really saying other people endorse you, right? Other people are saying this person here is trustworthy, right? This person here is recommended. Because once again, there's a lot of messaging out there, there's a lot of spam everyone gets as well. And we need to make sure that people actually trust us because people are going to buy from you, people are going to work with you based on whether they know, like, and trust you. Right. So we have to build trust. This is absolutely essential. And it's something that many people forget about. They might be like, here's my work, here's the amazing things that I do. Someone might be like, wow, I know, I've heard of their work, I know about their work, I like it, but do they trust you? Are they going to be handing over money, their business's money, their organization's money, their boss's money, right? Because in the end, we're all pretty risk averse when it comes to money. Like we don't want to be spending $1,000 or $50 or $200 and see our money disappear, right? There are people there's scam artists in the world that will unfortunately take our money if we're not careful. Therefore, so much of this stuff is built on trust, right? So you really need to make sure that you're talking about the people you've worked with, that you put on your website, that you put on your marketing materials, things like what people have said and where they were from and who they are, right? That builds a lot of credibility as well. This is really, really essential. This time of year, as I said, there's a lot of messaging, a lot of marketing happening. You're going to really stand out if you have that social proof and those testimonials as part of it as well. The other thing I want you to be very aware of this time of year is to make sure you've got clear calls to action, right? Clear calls to action. Like, hey, if someone wants to buy something from you or work with you, what do they do next? Right? It's not good enough to just say, here I am, here's what I do. There needs to also be some messaging, which you're saying, I'm currently available. Right? This is something that we often recommend if you're going to connect with past clients, past people you've worked with. Right? Send them a personalized email, and then in that email, it could say, hey, just to let you know, I've got some availability in the coming months. Let me know if you would be interested in chatting. Right? So it actually creates a bit of urgency and says, I currently have some availability in the current months, but also it's a call to action as well, saying, let me know. Do you have any things that you would love me to work on at the moment? Question mark. Right? They are calls to action. Obviously, if it's more of a product you're selling or something you're selling through your website, you need to have calls to action there as well. So making sure that things do reflect, yes, what's happening in terms of the timing of the season when you're available as well. The other thing around this is around availability, right? So availability is going to be a bit different this time of year for people. So yes, for example, if you're going to be working on client work, well, if you're going to take some time off, you've got to make sure they're aware of that, right? Like, are they aware that you're going to be away for a whole week, right? Making people really aware of what your availability is and what your availability is. One thing this time of year is also a great time to have a break, right? Some of you will be traveling. Some of you will be spending time with family. Some of you will be taking maybe not just a day off, but a week off, maybe even longer, right? Some people take a week off over Thanksgiving and others take a week off over New Year's and Christmas. Great, amazing. How's that going to work in for your business? So planning ahead around that is going to be really, really important as well, especially when it comes to working with clients and marketing and planning around those things. You don't want to be suddenly launching something and you're like, that week there, I'm going to be really busy and I'm actually planning to hang out with my family that week. And what are you doing? You're stuck in a room, not hanging out with the family while everyone's having a great time. right? So we need to be very, very aware of these things ahead as well. Joanna, I would love your thoughts around these things as well.
Yeah, one thing I will say is you have to be your biggest cheerleader. So when you do outreach, really pitch yourself as if you are also doing that company a favor. Like, hey, it's been a while since we've talked. Is there anything I can help out with? I'd love to work with you again before the year ends. Let me know. I'm available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Treat yourself like a business, just like another business would approach you. I feel like freelance creatives, especially, they sometimes feel a little bit timid because you are pitching yourself. But if you remember you're running a business and you actually have to present yourself like a business and with that same confidence in what you do and the things that you offer, I think that goes a long way. The other thing I was going to mention was on social proof. I don't have testimonials on my website, but I do collect all of the logos from the big brands that I work with. And it's right below the first scroll on my website. It's just 2 rows of Paramount, Nickelodeon, Nike, and that alone, when someone lands on my website and they scroll through, that alone speaks to the type of client I work with. And I also work with like mom and pop stuff, but um, that just seeing those brands, for me personally, I don't collect testimonials, but that alone is enough to show the kind of experience I have and the type of people that I enjoy working with. But yeah, those are 2 pretty simple, easy ways to mm, go forward. And like, I don't know how else to explain this. Like, you just have to be confident. When I was working with Logan, I was like, oh, I really hope people choose me. And it's like, no, you have to be the one to pitch yourself. You're running your own business. No one's going to do it for you. Like, even though I was working with Logan, Logan wasn't going to send emails for me. So I had to really figure
Mhm.
out how to step into my power and that confidence, to really go after the things I wanted instead of waiting for people to choose me, more or less.
So, so powerful. I love hearing what Joanna shared, with everyone here, because like this is Joanna's in this, right? She's been doing this for a number of years now, and like she's experiencing the day to day of what these things are like and what it's like to work on growing that confidence and what it's like to, send these different messages. Right. So I just love so many of the things you've shared there as well. Look, we are going to dive into Q&A time now. So if anyone has questions that's here live, just pop it in the chat. We did have some questions sent in before. Just a reminder as well, we do have those freebie coaching calls. So we'd love everyone here to fill in the form, whether you're here on the recording, watching this, or if you're here live, I'll pop that link in the chat again, and we'll send it in the email as well. That's to get some freebie coaching calls, 30-minute calls with myself, as well as a bunch of extra calls with Paul from the team as well. Look, we're going to dive into this first question that we were sent. So I love this one because it's kind of related to what we were just talking about around taking time off at this time of year. Right. So the question was literally, should I take off time at this time of year? And it's like, well, I think that the beautiful thing here is when you have your own business, you get to decide. Right. It's not like you have to put in a leave request for a job. Right now, I'm sure there's people here that have a day job as well, and you need to balance that side of it too. When it comes to your business, you get to decide when you have time off. You get to decide how often you work. You get to decide when you work. Right? Obviously, there's always going to be positives and minuses of different things around how you structure your time. But that is one of the beautiful things here is you get to decide on that. This is your business. So ultimately, if you want to take off time of year, time off at this time of year from your business, great, amazing. Like we've had clients that take off the whole month of December. They're just like, I structure my whole business around the idea that I take off a whole month. Amazing. Great, they can do that. Obviously, they can't just plan to do that when it gets to late November. Oh, I'm probably just going to take the whole month off. That would probably have quite a negative impact. However, planning ahead, they're like, great, I'm going to take off the whole month. Or it could be that you're going to, as I said, take off a week over Thanksgiving and a week over Christmas. Or maybe you're just going to take off a couple of days around those celebrations. Right? It's really about understanding what you want to do. But yes, you do need to be aware of what is the impact on the business. Right? What are the opportunities that time of year? Now, as I said, there's opportunities all times of year. So ultimately, we do want to make sure you're having rest and you're spending time with family, right? Really, really important things, but also understanding that there's going to be opportunities during this time of year, and you may decide you're not going to chase those opportunities, and that's okay as well. Right. So I just want you to be very, very aware that ultimately you get to decide. You get to decide these things. And that can kind of honestly be hard sometimes as well. Another way to think about it is just change your focus. So it might not be that you're like taking a whole bunch of time off. You just might be limiting time. As I said, you could be just taking 2 days off, or you could have every Friday off. It's kind of like during summer. Like a lot of people in summer will actually maybe finish early on a Friday. Right? You can decide to do that. You don't have to wait for your boss to let you know that you can do that. So these are the sort of things just to be very mindful of as well. This next question we've got here is for you, Joanna. So I love this one. It's, what is the best part of the holidays for you? What is the best part of the holiday season for you, Joanna?
Twofold. One, I just like taking the time off again to spend with friends and family and do the things that I love and give myself a little bit of a break when it comes to creative things. And then two, on the creative side, I really like joining those holiday challenges, the drawing challenges, because that gives me time to create work for myself. I'm not working for a client. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I can use that artwork later down the line to pitch myself to businesses or do outreach. But for the most part, those holiday challenges for me are just my personal creative time. And I like connecting with the creative community during those challenges. So seeing other people's artworks and commenting and sharing and connecting that way. It's actually I really enjoy this time of year. I haven't posted a lot, but I really do enjoy this time of year.
I think, it's a time of celebration, right? And everyone has different celebrations. We've got some people here from different parts of the world as well. And it's going to be different celebrations. So I'm also aware some people here may not celebrate Christmas and may not have Thanksgiving and those things there. I'm from New Zealand originally, so Thanksgiving was never a thing, right? Like it was kind of, I remember going to a Thanksgiving with some American friends in New Zealand once, and I was like, oh, what's this all about? It was very different. It was very new. And I found when I was spending more time and started living in the US, it was kind of like, oh, this is a big thing, right? This is actually a big part of the culture here is this time of year. And I'm often saying to people like, so what's more important to you, Christmas or Thanksgiving? And it's interesting because some people say half and half. Some people say, oh, Thanksgiving is a bigger holiday for me than Christmas. Some people say, no, it's Christmas, right? Everyone's different. We don't have that in New Zealand. Right. So part of it here is also really going, hey, is it a good time of year for you? Some people don't relate to these holidays at all. And that's okay as well. So, I think the beautiful thing here, as you grow your business, there's going to be different times of the year where you might do things differently and you might jump on trends and you might take time off. But that's part of that beautiful thing of having a business as well. Amazing. So just having a look at the chat here as well. So Camilla, we'll jump into your question there. So do you have a specific strategy for reaching out to companies when you don't have exact contact information, but want to ensure that art directors receive your email? Oh, that's such a good one. Do you want to have a go at that one, Joanna?
I do. I know people go through LinkedIn. I always slide into the company's DMs because there is always someone who is paid to manage that social media account. There's a human behind there somewhere. So I always introduce myself. Hi, I'm Joanna. I'm a LA-based illustrator. Love to work with you guys on a collaboration. Is there an email I can reach out to about a potential partnership? And usually they'll say no, or they'll send me a specific email. But that is the fastest way that I've gotten a direct email to something. If not, I usually go to the website and look at the contact form or an artist submission link. But honestly, sliding into people's and companies' DMs is the fastest way that I've gotten an actual direct email.
I think, and one of the things here for everyone here is like part of it is being creative, testing different things, right? And trying these different strategies. Joanna also mentioned around LinkedIn, right? Yes, things like Instagram. Honestly, I think one of the things when it comes to outreach, we see this a lot with our clients, is like you kind of want to have like what's the shortcut, what's the easiest way to get like a big list of emails, right? And part of it, as Joanna said, is sometimes getting creative, maybe trying things like Instagram. It's not always going to be straightforward and you're not always going to find those lists straight away. It actually is quite time consuming, right? There's not really lots of shortcuts, but there's some things that you can try. It's kind of interesting. Like when it comes to marketing, what we find is even though we work with a lot of similar types of clients, similar parts, most people in the US, what we do also tend to see is that some things work for some people and some things don't work for other people. Right. So we've actually had clients that are like the DM strategy works so well, right? Slide and DM. We have some clients that is like, it doesn't work for me at all. Right. It's not always about their following or different elements. some people find it works really well just doing straight cold emails, sending them out, and they get really amazing reply rates. Right. So something that we've got to be very aware of here is just experimenting and trying different things. Try what Joanna mentioned, because this is a great tip. Absolutely. Try things on LinkedIn. Try Googling more. Try actually, sometimes people even find like, how do I find that person's name and find their, like, do they have a personal website? Do they have their email listed somewhere else? Right. You can get creative on that too.
I
Go
do
for it.
want to mention one more thing. A couple of, friends in my own industry, when they post projects that they've worked on with clients, they'll tag the art directors or they'll name them. So they kind of leave breadcrumbs for you to find. So just pay attention to the companies and projects that they post and see if they tag art directors and either follow them or introduce yourself in DMs and say, I just saw this project you worked on with so and so. I'd love to have an opportunity to work with you or chat about a project in the future if something comes to mind. And again, like the overarching theme is do not be shy. I was shy for so long, and if I could go talk to my younger self, I just tell myself to get over me and then just hit the ground running. That's the only way to do it.
Amazing. All right. I love this question here, Lily. So when it comes to company names, what are some of the pros and cons of using your actual name versus a name that you make up? Oh, so many good things we can talk to around that. So, like, first of all, Lily, it's totally up to you, right? Like you get to decide, just like these other things of when you work and don't work is like, yeah, you can have either option here. There's no rule that says you can or can't. But just as you said, well, there's pros and cons. And I think, one of the big pros of using your name or part of your name, some people use, their middle name, their last name, different things there, is that it's going to be kind of more recognizable to people who already know you, right? And there's more of a personal connection. Right? Often people want to connect with a person rather than just a brand with no face. Right. So often if you do use your name, and that could be in how you do things on Instagram, it could be how you promote yourself, it could be the business names, lots of different ways you can do that. It's just going to often feel more personal. Right. That's something to be very, very aware of. Things that can happen though, depending on your name, sometimes it could be hard to spell. Right. We do see this happening or you may have a really long name, right? And people misspell it and they're going to struggle to get through to you, or they're going to struggle to write in your email or your website, right? So that's just something to be very, very aware of as well. Or if it's hard to say or pronounce and people get confused, sometimes that's, yes, kind of on them for trying to get it right, but also we've just got to be aware we want to make things easy and recognizable as well. So some people, what they do is they'll kind of like jumble up their name in different creative ways that can be really fun as well. So there is still kind of a personal element to that. Look, I guess the negative side is that, well, the business is based around you. If you want to build a larger brand, larger business, sometimes it's harder to build something around you and a personal brand. Most people here, you're probably building businesses around yourself and you're probably not going to end up with like a big global team. You might have some assistants maybe one day if you want, right? A lot of our clients that we work with don't actually have a team at all, right? They are the business. So that's just something to be aware of. If you do kind of want to grow beyond that, sometimes it's a bit odd to almost have like a name in that as well. So that's something to be aware of. But, think about things like spelling. Think about things like pronunciation. Things like, think about, is it easy to remember? Right? I'll be completely upfront here, everyone, is one of the problems we have. Our business is called Flammable Entrepreneur, really long, and it's kind of hard to spell, right? Literally, does flammable, is it inflammable? Does flammable have two M's or one M? Entrepreneur is like, I've been spelling that for years and sometimes I still mess it up. Right. So, something to be aware of. We're very aware of that as well. It's like there's always going to be upsides and downsides of the naming as well. So love it. Very, very cool, Lily. Great question there as well. Joanna, did you want to add something?
Yeah. I will say I struggle with this because Wink and Wonder was originally supposed to be like a greeting card company. And then anything I built under that could still fall under Wink and Wonder. So Wink and Wonder, like kids' clothing or whatever. But then I started doing greeting cards, and companies said, do you want to have Wink and Wonder or do you want to have Joanna Muñoz on the card? And I panicked because I should be under this brand, but I really like the idea of my name. But then my name is a little bit different than this brand. So I've just accepted the fact that I go by Wink and Wonder online, but on greeting cards, when I flip the back of that card over, I want to see my name so that if friends go and find it, they can see my name. So that's kind of how I distinguish the two. It's also weird. I just came back from Adobe Max where like you meet a bunch of creatives And I've introduced myself as Joanna, and sometimes it's like a blank stare, and then I say Wink and Wonder, and they go, "Oh yeah, I know who you are." So you just kind of have to decide what's more important to you. When I see my name on products, that makes me happy instead of Wink and Wonder. But online, on social, when I introduce myself to people, I don't have a problem saying, "Oh, my name's Joanna. I go by Wink and Wonder on Instagram." So something to think about.
Love it. So many good things here, so many great things we've shared today. Hey, it's been lovely doing this. What we're going to do now is we're going to get everyone to share some takeaways in the chat. So we'd love everyone that's here live, just write down in the chat, what was the takeaway? What did you learn today? What's something that you found interesting? Just as we start to wrap up, pop it in the chat, and this will kind of help other people think about what we covered today. Obviously, we've taken you through a lot of different things related to the holidays as well. We've got some good holiday celebrations coming up, and obviously different parts of the world as well. But I'm definitely looking forward to Thanksgiving and having some delicious food. It's not too far away now. I think it's about a month away. So there we go. But honestly, as we said, there is opportunities at this time of year, and we want everyone to be very aware of that. At the same time, we want you to balance things like taking time out, taking time with friends, family, connections, having some rest as well. Amazing. Some different things popping up in the chat there as well. Yeah, being your own cheerleader. Absolutely. Working on that confidence, growing that confidence, knowing that you're worthy, you're valued. There's so many different things you have in terms of opportunities. And confidence as well. That's just such a powerful part of it, is like being confident in your work and knowing that you can do this, right? We see this all the time where people are like, oh, even if you're early stage and you're like, I haven't really run my business for very long, barely a business. It's like, that doesn't matter. How's your creative work? And the creative work is usually amazing, right? The skills, the creative side is incredible as well. So absolutely loved it today. It's been a lot of fun, everyone. We've had an absolute blast as well. Would love to connect with a bunch of people through the form. So if everyone can fill that in, we'll go through that. Celeste, Paul, myself on the team, we'll go through that all together and get you on a bunch of calls with myself and some with Paul as well. So amazing. Thank you, everyone, for joining the chat as well. We're going to wrap up there. It's been an absolute blast. It's been fun, hasn't it, Joanna?
I love doing this stuff. You know me, I can talk about this stuff all day long.
Awesome. Fantastic. Hey, thank you, everyone. Thanks for sharing the chat as well. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely rest of your
Thanks,
day.
guys.
Bye.